Hello, it's part 7 of finally replying to old comments, which apparently is going to be about a 300 part series. And if you don't know, I'm also replying to comments from the most recent videos in this series. And some of you are going to have to start picking up your end of the couch and leaving some comments because Night of Your Life is doing all the heavy lifting. Night of your life, leaving every comment. Night of your life. Night of Your Life said in the most recent installment, I agree that divorce is difficult. Currently, though, I feel confident that Chris is at the moment rotting in his cell, feeling that divorce would have been a lot less difficult than his current situation. That is the one thing we can all feel glad about. Yeah, anytime I'm feeling overwhelmed by the burdens of life and every aspect of it is just dumping its waste onto me and pushing me down and burying me, and I would be so much further ahead if not for this, that, and the other thing. One of my go tos to get myself out of that hole is, well, at least I'm not rotting in a prison cell in a 6 by 8 bathroom. So, yeah, although there is like 30 videos ahead from now, the funniest comment that's ever been left on any of my videos on this entire channel, someone said the gist of it was, um, you know, Chris is not actually having such a bad time in prison, although you've indicated that you want him to be so bad. And to that person, I'll get to it later when we finally come to that video where that comment was left. But for now, I'll just say I really hope things get better for you because I can't imagine how wretched your life is that you think anybody is not actually having such a bad time in prison. I remember in college, my life was in such a sad state that when we were learning about the Japanese internment camps during World War II, I actually said, that doesn't sound too bad. It's like a vacation. You don't have to worry about paying your bills or getting a job. Everything's taken care of for you. You just don't have as many freedoms. So that's where I was at, and I can't imagine how bad of a time you must be having to think that being in prison for the rest of your life is not actually such a bad time. So good luck improving your situation. And that comment was 2 years ago. Maybe you have improved your situation. But anyway, moving on to where we left off, which was the comments to his master plan revealed, part 4. And the last comment that we're picking up at was from Diane Powell. So emotional, cry every time, read this case, rip, Shanann, Bella, Celeste, Nico, XXXXXXX. Again, I'm trying to read these word for word. Yeah. So emotional, cry every time, read this case, rip, Shanann, Bella, Celeste, Nico. It's very kind of you to say, to memorialize them instead of sensationalizing the murderer. It's always a safe route to take. Safe, like you're just trying to protect yourself. It's always the noble route to take. To focus on the victims rather than the criminal that doesn't deserve any attention other than ridicule. Okay, the quieter you become, the more you hear. Left a couple of comments here. I replied to the first one, so I'll just skip ahead to the second one. Lastly, I didn't think that I could be more horrified in reviewing this case. I assumed that he lost reality and made selfish and emotionally influenced decisions. I was only a little bit correct. The calculating and coldness of his long-time compressed personality completely escaped my radar. The reveal today just re-horrified me on a whole new level. I'm just shaking my head and weeping once again for his family. Thanks for sharing and shining some light upon things that I was unable to see. You're welcome. It's sad, but there is a catharsis in learning the truth behind the horror and making sense out of it. Hero Forever said, new sub, I really am enjoying your digestion of this interview. I hope you will also do his Wisconsin interview from February 2019. Please, please, please. I'll send you some subs. Well, Hero Forever, as you may have noticed, I did a new series on the Wisconsin interview called A Loving Family Man, I Think. So I'm kind of curious. How many subs did you send me? I'd like to know. Sunny Sun, listen to the comments and you will have plenty of topics and people to make videos about. The most famous for the start are Watts, Jodi Arias, and that female cop. I can't remember the name now. I think you're, excuse me, I think you're talking about Stephanie Lazarus. All I did about her was one comment in my Chris Watts series. I made one comment referencing her to compare her to the mistress and why the mistress wouldn't actually want to get involved in the case. And as far as Jodi Arias, I never got into reviewing her because I went through analysis of that case and the footage and evidence itself in an unprofessional way. I'm just a fucking guy on YouTube. But I never felt I had anything to add to Jodi Arias. Everyone else covered it pretty well, so that's why I didn't bother. Mike, why don't you just do the same copy and paste content that everyone else does? Because I'd rather screw up my lines in a one take video of just me talking. GLNW said, Mistress said in, oh, I replied to that one, never mind. J.D. Baker Associates said, yep, he was celebrating. You could tell from his interviews hours later he was tickled. He couldn't contain his glee, just evil. Astute observation, J.D. Baker Associates. Megatini, please do more. I love that you actually analyze and give your view and opinion. Very appreciated. Subbed. Yeah, Megatini, wasn't it frustrating? I know I was frustrated when I was trying to find answers in the Chris Watts case at first before I started making videos. And it would just be channel after channel. You'd get 5-10 minutes in and it would just be the same copied and pasted clips of the same highlights of the evidence. I mean, someone tell me something. I'm sick of this. Doesn't anyone have any answers? You're all just farming views. Stop raping the corpses of the victims and actually try to tell their story, which no one is doing. So I'm glad you appreciated it, Megatini. Megatini also said, his plan of taking them in their sleep went wrong. I think he meant his plan. I still believe he even killed Shanann in her sleep. I believe he waited for that, the coward he is. When the girls woke up, he had to face them, and his coward soul found that a nightmare. Yeah, it's a tough decision on whether he killed Shanann in her sleep or woke her up first. I kind of get the feeling that from some of the tidbits from his interviews that he might have just done it in her sleep and then got joy out of the fact that she woke up from him doing it. Because there's all those quotes he says where it's like I needed to see her face while I did it. That was the most honest he ever spoke about the murder when he didn't realize he was revealing his true feelings about murdering them. Is when he was just talking about the conversation and what he called the conversation, but it was really him talking about his own murdering of them. He said things like, I needed to see her face while I did it. I needed to know that she was knowing how I wanted her to know how I felt about her. I needed to see that she was reciprocating back to me. Like he was finally revealing his true feelings about her by murdering her, is the gist I got. But then I got from letters from Christopher, he said the thing about her eyes filled with tears as she looked at me and died, just horrific stuff. And he said it in a cold, calculating way, like he's just reporting something he's watching on a movie on TV, which gives me the impression that he may have started while she was asleep, and then she woke up and looked at him, saw what he was doing, realized how he felt about her, and then that was the looking at her and dying. So horrific either way you look at it. And as you said, he is a coward. And his nightmare was that he screwed up. His attempt to murder his girls at first failed. That was his nightmare. Not that he selfishly took their lives all for his own gain and didn't care about what they wanted at all, but just that the job hadn't been completed the way he wanted it to be. What a creep. Sonia Marie Alves de Mello says the emotional talk was the murdering, as I just said, and as was gone over in the video, that she left from Earth. The nightmare was Bella not dead, as I just said, and have to kill her again. The kids both Das dead in the house. No one was alive when he packed them in the car. Talk face to face was killing Shanann. So yeah, you're basically just repeating everything I said. I'm glad you were able to, comprehend all that and reiterate it yourself, apparently in a second language. And then you wrapped it up by saying, what a joke, he is a coward. Agreed, as did Megatini. And then Sonia Marie Alves de Mello, I guess she continued the same thing in another comment, so I will skip it and I will skip reading it and just say that it's a good comment where she sums everything up that we've already gone over and say that you can read it. Thank you for sharing, Sonia Marie. And next, Lavone Tolleson. Thank you for these. I just found them and watched all. Such great stuff. Love the part about it not being the cheating that changed CW. He was already a very sick mutation. That being enthralled with the wacko crap his partner in crime spouted was involved in, mixed with his utter idiocy, equals dumbassed, wacko family annihilator. I've listened to its nonsensical blather and self-diagnosis it spews about why it did these things. Freaking malarkey, the entire W family, wacko. I like how you said it instead of his, denoting his inhuman actions and mindset. See, that's one where I didn't give the heart at the end, which was kind of a thing I did throughout all the videos. If you contributed an actual positive comment that was worthwhile, but I couldn't endorse it with a heart saying I love it, I would just give it the thumbs up and not the heart. And this is one of those cases, like saying the mistress was the partner in crime. I don't think she was a partner in the crime of the murders, but she was a partner in crime of the adultering. And the way you ended it there, the entire W family wacko, maybe they are, but it had nothing to do with the crime Chris committed. So a lot of comments were like that, where I'm like, oh, good point, good point, good point. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it. Then in the end, it's like, and the entire Watts family should burn in hell. It's like, whoa, I don't know if I want to endorse that part. I mean, without Chris doing this, they're just a weird family who never learned how to, well, that's not even really worth getting into. But so to end it that way, I couldn't endorse it with the heart, and that's why. And much like that comment, I'm going to end this whole video with a whimper because I'm running out of time because my phone is losing quality and I don't know what I'm going to do about it. So if you've got this far, I'm sorry it wasn't longer. I hope you enjoyed it while it lasted, and I'll probably see you in part 8.